We are listening Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Talk 103. Someone met Sri Ramana Maharshi previous day, and then on the next day Sri Bhagavan was telling that these people want some japa, dhyana or yoga or something similar. Without their saying what they have been doing so far, what more can be said to them? Again, why japa, its falashruti, etc.? The great importance lies in understanding who is it that makes the japa, who gets the fruits thereof. Can they not look to the self? Or again, even if instructed by others to do japa or dhyan, they do it for some time but are always looking to some results. That is, a vision, dream, or some occult powers. If they do not find them, they say they are not progressing or the tapas is not effective. Visions, etc., are no signs of progress, Ramana Maharshi told people around. He said further that mere performance of tapas is its progress also. Steadiness is what is required. Moreover, they must entrust themselves to their mantra or their God and wait for the grace. They do not do so. Japa, even once uttered, has its own good effect whether the individual is aware or not aware. Talk 104 now. Mr. Kishori Lal, an officer of the Railway Board, Government of India, hails from New Delhi. He looks simple, gentle, and dignified in behavior. He has gastric ulcer and has arranged for his board and lodging in the town. 5 years ago, he took up the study of devotional literature. He is a bhakta of Sri Krishna. He could feel Sri Krishna in all that he saw. Krishna often appeared to him and made him happy. His work was going on without any effort on his part, and everything seemed to be done for him by Sri Krishna himself. Later on, he came in touch with a Mahatma who advised him to study Vedanta and take to Nirakara Upasana, that is, devotion to formless being. He has since read about 700 books of philosophy and Vedanta, including the Upanishads, Ashtavakra, Avadhut, and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He also has studied Sri Bhagavan's work in English and is much impressed by them. Once, when he was in the jaws of death, no other thought haunted him but that he had not yet visited Sri Bhagavan in his life. So he has come here on a short visit. He prays only for Sri Bhagavan's touch and his grace. The master, Sri Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, said to him, Atmaiva aham gudakesha. That is, I am Atma. Atma is the Guru, and Atma is grace also. No one remains without the Atma, he is always in contact. No external touch is necessary. Devotee said, I understand, I do not mean external touch. Maharshi said, nothing is more intimate than the Atma. That devotee said further to Sri Bhagavan that again Sri Krishna appeared to me 3 months back and said, why do you ask me for Nirakara Upasana? It is only Sarva Bhutesu cha Atmanam Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani. The self in all and all in the self. To this, Maharshi Raman replied, that contains the whole of the truth. Even this is Aupacharikta. There is in fact nothing but the Atma. The world is only a projection of the mind. The mind originates from the Atma, so Atma alone is the one being. Then the devotee said, yet it is difficult to realize. Maharshi Ramana said, there is nothing to realize. It is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta. It is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta state, that is the eternal, pure, aware and liberated state. It is natural and eternal. There is nothing new to gain. On the other hand, a man must lose his ignorance, that is just all knowledge. This ignorance must be traced to its origin. To whom is this ignorance? Of what is one ignorant? They are the subject and the object. Such duality is characteristic of the mind. The mind is from the Atma. Then that devotee said, yes, ignorance itself cannot exist. He finally surrendered, saying, just as a doctor learns what is wrong with the patient and treats him accordingly, so may Sri Bhagavan do with me. He also said that he had lost all inclination to study books and learn from them. Talk 105. Maharshi said, Yena ashrutam shrutam bhavati. From the Chandogya Upanishad he said, by knowing which all the unknown becomes known, this needs to be searched. Bhagavan's attendant Madhava Swami said, are there 9 methods of teaching the Mahavakya Tattvamasi in the Chandogya Upanishad? Ramana Maharshi replied, no, not so. The method is only one. Uddalak started teaching Sat Eva Saumya, illustrating it with Sweta Ketu's fast. that there is only being. Sat, the being in the individual, is made obvious by the fast. This Sat being is similar in all as honey gathered from different flowers. There is no difference in the Sat of individuals as illustrated by the state of deep sleep. The question arises, if so, why does not each know it in sleep? Because the individuality is lost during that time and there is only Sat left. Illustration for this could be grasped as rivers lost in the ocean. If lost, is there Sat? Surely, as when a tree is pruned, it grows again. That is a sure sign of its life. But is it there even in that dormant condition? Yes. Take the instance of salt and water. The presence of the salt in water is subtle. Though invisible to the eye, it is recognized by other senses. How is one to know it? What is the other mean? By inquiry, as the man left in the Gandhar forest regained his home. In evolution and involution, in manifestation and resolution, Sat alone exists. Tejah parasyam deva devatayam. The light merges in the Supreme. Maharshi further told that an insincere man is hurt by the touch of fire test. His insincerity is brought out by fire. Sincerity is self-evident. A true man or a self-realized man remains happy without being affected by the false appearances, namely world, birth, death, etc., whereas the false or ignorant man is miserable. Talk 106. Swami Yogananda from the Yogada Satsanga Society, who used to live in America, came with 4 others at 8:45 in the morning. He looks big but gentle and well groomed. He has dark flowing hair hanging over his shoulders, and the group had lunch in the ashram. Mr. Sear Wright, his secretary, asked, "How shall I realize God?" Maharishi Ramana said that God is an unknown entity. Moreover, He is external, whereas the Self is always with you and it is you. Why do you leave out what is intimate and go in for what is external? First work is to reach to the Self, and then we will see who is God. Then that devotee asked again that, what is this Self? Ramana Maharshi said, the Self is known to everyone but not clearly. You always exist. The being is the Self. I am is the name of God. Of all the definitions of God, none is indeed so well put as the biblical statement, I am that I am. There are other statements such as Brahmaiva Aham, Aham Brahmasmi, and Soham. But none is so direct as the name Jehovah, that I am. The absolute being is what is. It is the self. It is God. Knowing the self, God is known. In fact, God is none other than the self. Then that devotee asks that why are there good and why evil? Maharshi on this said that good and evil, they are relative terms. There must be a subject to know the good and the evil. That subject is the ego. Trace the source of the ego, it ends in the self. The source of the ego is God. This definition of God is probably more concrete and better understood by you. The devotee said, yes, so it is, Maharshi, but my next question is how to get bliss? Ramana Maharshi replied, bliss is not something to be got. On the other hand, you are always bliss. This desire is born of the sense of incompleteness. To whom is this sense of incompleteness? Inquire. In deep sleep you were blissful, now you are not so. What has interposed between that bliss and this non-bliss? It is the ego. Seek its source and find you are bliss. Maharshi said further that there is nothing new to get. You have, on the other hand, to get rid of your ignorance, which makes you think that you are other than bliss. For whom is this ignorance? It is to the ego. Trace the source of the ego, then the ego is lost and bliss remains over. It is eternal. You are that, and that thing is happening here and now. That is the master key for solving all the possible doubts. The doubts arise in the mind is born of the ego rises from the self. Search the source of the ego and the self is revealed. That alone remains. The universe is only expanded self. It is not different from the self. Then the devotee asked that what is the best way of living? Ramana Maharshi said, it differs according as one is Ajnani or Ajnani. Ajnani does not find anything different or separate from the self. All are in the self. It is wrong to imagine that there is the world, that there is a body in it, and that you dwell in the body. If the truth is known, the universe and what is beyond it will be found to be only in the self. The outlook differs according to the sight of the person. The sight is from the eye. The eye must be located somewhere. If you are seeing with the gross eyes, you find others gross. If with the subtle I, that is the mind, others appear subtle. If the I becomes the self being infinite, the I is infinite. There is nothing else to see different from the self. Then that devotee who were asking these questions accompanying Paramahans Yogananda, that devotee thanked Maharshi, and he was told that the best way of thanking is to remain always as the self. Talk 107. Later, the yogi Yoganandaji asked that how is the spiritual uplift of the people to be effected? What are the instructions to be given? Ramana Maharshi replied, they differ according to the temperaments of the individuals and according to the spiritual ripeness of their minds. There cannot be any instruction in mass. Then the devotee asked that why does God permit suffering in the world? Should he not with his omnipotence do away with it at one stroke and ordain the universal realization of God? To this, Ramana Maharshi said, suffering. This suffering is the way for realization of God. Should he not ordain differently? Maharshi said, it is the way. Are yoga, religion, etc. antidotes to the suffering? They help to overcome suffering. Why should there be suffering? To this, Maharshi said, who suffers? What is suffering? No answer came. Then the yogi rose up, prayed for Sri Bhagavan's blessings for his own work, and expressed great regret for his hasty return. He looked very sincere and devoted and even emotional. Talk 108. In continuation of dialogue which we had in the talk 105, Uddalak explained that all proceeds from this Sat as illustrated by deep sleep. The body takes food, food requires water, water requires heat to digest the food. Tejo Moola Mana Vikchacha. It is Sat, Parasyam Devatayam, merged in the being. If we are Sat Sampanna, merged in the being, how is it that we do not realize it? Maharshi said, just as the honey gathered from different flowers forms the bulk in a honeycomb, and each drop does not indicate where from it has been collected, so also Satasampanna, in deep sleep, death, etc. People do not recognize their individualities. They slip into that state of unawareness. But when they wake up, they regain their original individual characteristics. Then the devotee asked, honey, though collected from the different flowers, becomes the bulk and doesn't possess individual characteristics. But the individual parts do not also exist in the drops, and they do not return to their sources. Whereas the individuals, after going to the deep sleep, wake up individuals as formerly. How is it? So this is Ramana Maharshi said, just as rivers discharged into the ocean lose their individualities, still the waters evaporate and return as rain on the hills and through rivers to the ocean, so also the individuals going to sleep lose their personal traits and yet return as individuals according to their previous vasanas, unaware. Thus, even in death, Sat is not lost. Maharshi was telling, we lose because of this vasana or the habit. Then the devotee asked, how can that be true? Ramana Maharshi said, see how a tree whose branches are cut grows again. So long as the life source is not affected, it will grow. Similarly, the samskar sink into the heart in death, they do not perish. They will in right time sprout forth from the heart. That is how the jivas are reborn. Then there was a question that how does the wide universe sprout forth from such subtle sanskar remaining sunk in the heart? Maharshi said, just as a big banyan tree sprouts from a tiny seed, so the wide universe with names and forms sprouts forth from the heart. Then the devotee asked, if the origin is Sat, why is it not felt? Ramana Maharshi said, the salt in the lump is visible. It is invisible in solution. Still, its existence is known by taste. Similarly, Sat, though not recognized by the intellect, can still be realized in a different way, that is, transcendentally. Devotee asked, how can you explain? Ramana Maharshi said, just as a man blindfolded and left by robbers in a jungle inquires his way home and returns there, so also the ignorant one, blinded by ignorance, inquires of those not so blinded and seeks his own source and return to it. Then Guru Upadesh. Vang manasi sampadyate manah prane pragyate jasi pragyate jasi tej parasyam devayatam iti. Devotee said, if this is truth, Ajnani or Ajnani dies in the same manner. Why is an Ajnani reborn whereas a Jnani not? Ramana Maharshi said, just as an innocent man Satya Abhisandha is not affected by the test of touching red hot iron, but the thief is affected, so also Sad Brahma, Satya Abhisandha, that is Ajnani, enters into Sat consciously and merges, whereas the other enters unaware and is thrown out with unawareness. Hope. presence of Ramana Maharshi is changing you or pointing you towards the truth. Take a pause now. Thanks for listening.